Cyndaquill is a Fire-type starter Pokemon introduced in Generation 2. The red circles on its back are capable of erupting into fierce flames. The intensity of these flames varies in accordance with the Fire Mouse's emotion at the time. If threatened or enraged, they can burn brightly and more powerfully, whereas if Cyndaquill is exhausted, the fire may not be able to burn properly at all. These flames can sometimes be produced reflexively if the Pokemon is startled. In general, Cyndaquil is a shy and timid Pokemon, preferring to keep to itself. When frightened, the Pokemon may curl into a ball in order to protect itself from any attackers. Training a Cyndaquil can be a difficult task due to overcoming the Pokemon's natural nervousness. However, it proves to be a rewarding one to Pokemon trainers. Upon its debut within the Generation 2 games, Cyndaquil is available only as one of the 3 starter Pokemon offered by Professor Elm at the game's beginning, and is completely unobtainable in the wild. Starter Pokemon are incredibly rare, and Cyndaquil is no exception. The only other notable ways of obtaining a Cyndaquil besides breeding are completion of the Hoenn Pokedex in Emerald, where the player receives a choice of Johto starter, or the conquering of Pokemon XD's Mount Battle, a 100-trainer gauntlet that rewards the player with a Johto starter knowing its ultimate move, Cyndaquil's being the mighty Blast Burn. Cyndaquil and the rest of its evolutionary line are notable for having their shiny sprites altered after Generation 2. The original design features deep purple flames and a slightly darker tint to the body. From Generation 3 onwards, the flames retain their non-shiny colour and the sprite gains a brown coloration. If the player chooses the Grass starter, the Generation 2 rival, Silver, will begin his journey with Cyndaquil. When the player attempts to return to the lab in Newbark Town after receiving a phone call from a distressed Elm, Silver intercepts the player in Cherry Grove City and challenges them to a battle. The player realises that Silver stole his Cyndaquil from Elm's lab upon arriving back there, discovering the reason for Professor Elm's call. Within the pages of the Pokemon Special manga, the main protagonist of the Gold and Silver chapter, Gold, chooses Cyndaquil as a partner in order to battle against Silver, both angry at his theft of Totodile from Elm's lab and sympathetic to Cyndaquil's sadness at Totodile's loss. Gold nicknames his Cyndaquil X-Bow after the explosive flames emerging from its back. As with other first stage starter Pokemon, Cyndaquil isn't a standout stat-wise. However, at this early stage, Cyndaquil demonstrates leanings towards both speed and special attack, a trend that will continue along the rest of the Fire Mouse's evolutionary line. Quilava is the evolved form of Cyndaquil. Quilava is a mostly quadrupedal Pokemon, although it has the ability to stand sturdily on its hind legs when necessary. The Pokemon now has 5 separate spots that can produce flames, 2 upon its forehead and 3 on its rear. It has a habit of turning its back on its opponent during battle. Doing so allows it to ignite its flames powerfully in order to intimidate enemies, and if this doesn't succeed, it can immediately attack with the flames from the same position. Quilava is also capable of heating the space around it, firing gusts of superheated air at its opposition. The Pokemon's fur is entirely non-flammable, protecting it both from its own flames, but also fire attacks launched by enemies. It is a very dexterous and nimble Pokemon, capable of dodging a majority of attacks, moving at high speeds, and managing the heating of air currents, all while quickly attacking with the flames on its back. Quilava's design keeps some of the same influences as Cyndaquil's, but with added elements of weasels. In Generation 2, Quilava is only available by evolving a Cyndaquil. The Fire Mouse will evolve into the Volcano Pokemon starting at level 14. The Pokemon cannot be found anywhere in the wild, in Johto or otherwise. One notable exception to this is a snaggable Shadow Quilava near the beginning of the GameCube spin-off game Pokemon Colosseum, in which Quilava can be encountered in Fenac City, or later on in the post-game. Quilava is one of a selection of Pokemon to receive an updated sprite in Pokemon Crystal. The Crystal version features the Pokemon standing on its hind legs and alters the sprite's eye colour to be more in line with Sugimori's design. Like Cyndaquil, Quilava's shiny sprite is altered in the same way, the purple flames being traded for a brown coat of fur. Your rival, Silver, will have evolved his own Cyndaquil into a Quilava before the player's second encounter with him. He challenges the player to a battle within Azalea Town as they attempt to enter Ilex Forest and move on to Goldenrod. In the manga, Pokemon Special, Gold's Expo evolves into a Quilava after a long day of training at the daycare centre. His defeat of a strong Primeape triggers the evolution at the end of the day. As with Cyndaquil, Quilava once again demonstrates its penchant for speed and special attack, and although its stats are improved, it won't be until it reaches its final stage that it truly achieves its full potential. The final form of the evolutionary line, Typhlosion, has moved on from its time as a timid Cyndaquil. The fire spots are now positioned behind the back of its neck, creating a fearsome display when lit that intimidates most Pokemon. When angered, the Volcano Pokemon is capable of bringing everything around it to flames. A single touch is all it takes to set its surroundings ablaze. A Typhlosion that can't control its temper can reduce whole towns to ash. The Pokemon has developed the unique and deadly ability to create massive explosions by simply rubbing its fur together. Its non-flammable fur protects Typhlosion from a majority of the effects of said explosion. The flames it produces are so powerful that they create shimmering hazes of heat as a byproduct that Typhlosion is capable of obscuring itself behind. Typhlosion's design carries elements of honey badgers, bears and wolverines. Within the Generation 2 games it made its debut, Typhlosion is only available through evolution. A Quilava that reaches level 36 will be able to evolve into its final, most powerful form. Typhlosion also receives an updated sprite in Pokemon Crystal. It receives slight colour changes, lightening its body to match Ken Sugimori's original artwork more closely. Even more uniquely, Typhlosion receives a completely updated back sprite in the game, completely reworking it to create a more accurate representation of the Pokemon. Again, Typhlosion's shiny sprite is altered from the purple flames to a brown coat of fur after Generation 2. In the Generation 2 games, Silver's Quilava that the player first meets in Azalea Town will have evolved into a Typhlosion for the player's 5th battle with Silver in Victory Road, the final one before the postgame. If having used Cyndaquil, this is the latest point Silver will have fully evolved one of the 3 starters. When challenged by Silver in the postgame at the Indigo Plateau, his Typhlosion will have reached its highest point. Silver's starter Pokemon joins the ranks of a very select few Pokemon to reach at least level 50 within the Gold, Silver and Crystal versions. In the manga, Gold's Expo evolves alongside Silver's Croconaw and Crystal's Bayleaf. They do so simultaneously in order to push off an attack from Lugia. At its final form, Typhlosion is clearly conceived as a special sweeper, dealing high special attack damage as quickly as possible. Typhlosion's access to Flamethrower in Generation 2 is very useful, as within Gold and Silver, the move cannot be obtained via TM or Move Tutor. Erroneously, Typhlosion cannot learn Explosion, however it is compatible with the Thunder Punch TM, perhaps in reference to the Volcano Pokemon's ability to spark these explosions using its fur. This also gives it an answer to Water-type Pokemon. As of Generation 7, Typhlosion also has access to Wild Charge, perhaps another reference to its explosive tendencies. At the time of recording, Typhlosion and its evolutionary family are unavailable within Generation 8. However, it is highly likely that they will receive a similar moveset to their Generation 7 counterparts, with one notable inclusion being Mystical Fire, a move leaked via Pokemon Home.